Good morning. I like to start talking before it actually kicks into live mode so you don't have this big blank moment. So, good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. Namaste, bitches. It's Sunday morning. And I got to tell you, I'm wearing a sweatshirt, even though it's getting nicer outside these days. The temps are going up. Summer is coming eventually, but it's a little cool this morning. But we actually turned the air conditioner on yesterday in the house, not because it was so hot outside, but because it got really humid. I don't like humidity. I didn't turn on the air. My wife did. She said it's hot in here today. And so we hit the air conditioning yesterday. And so now it's cold in here this morning. But I stepped outside with my morning coffee, and I love what's going on in the atmosphere right now. It's kind of quiet outside. The humidity, the dew point is building a little bit. And there's supposedly a storm brewing for the possibility of thunderstorms today, but it just looks a little gray and overcast outside. But it's got that stillness and quietness to the air that comes when you know something's brewing out there. And the humidity's up, and I didn't mind it, even though I don't like humidity. When it gets too high, I didn't mind it this morning. It seemed all right. And so it's quiet and nice, and weather is brewing outside, and it's kind of a nice morning. So good morning, everybody. And this, of course, Sunday morning are the weekly excursions into doing something actually live. Now, Rocky and I do many of our shows together with the Sit Room live. We broadcast at different times of the day, and then it rebroadcasts at a scheduled time. I don't do the Intrepid radio program live. I usually record it a couple of hours in advance, and you all know the reasons for that. And but Sunday morning, I get to go live directly to you. I'm not even sure there's much of a delay here. I broadcast it through YouTube live, and so I can see you. I can say good morning, Twisted. I see you over there. Good morning, Teresa. Nice to see you, darling. Suze, nice to see you. Sean Bowden, Matt Finn, how you doing, brother? Steve Clark, good to see you, brother. And who else we got over there? I can say good morning to Macabre Sterling, good to see you. And I saw Neil in here a little earlier from Ireland, and good to see you, Neil. You know, I had an old friend over yesterday, and he's just a couple of years older than I am. He came over, and we sat. He's kind of a quiet, lives his life alone guy, a couple of years older than I have. I've known him for almost 30 years. And he came over, and he was playing some videos on YouTube on the television while we were sitting chatting of some opera and things like that, and operatic voices that are kind of new out there in the world. And I was listening to that, and we were talking, and it made me think about getting a little older. And of course, I've talked about that before on this show in relation to other topics. I've talked about the idea of getting older. And the original point I was going to make with Neil was that to kind of counter the opera, I pulled up some Tullamore Dew ads that my friend hadn't seen. Kevin, if you see him in here, it's KDO from Minnesota, is my friend who stopped by yesterday. And we're watching these Tullamore Dew ads. And of course, Tullamore Dew is a blended Irish whiskey, one of my favorites. And, I've got the ever-present bottle of Jameson that sits here on my desk that I use on occasion. But Tullamore Dew is another of my favorites. And they came out with a magnificent ad campaign a few years ago. And they were showing a bunch of friends, 4 friends, I think it was 4, not 5, 4, that were strolling through the Irish countryside, and it's raining, and they're going to one of their friends' weddings, and they're singing The Parting Glass. You all know that song. Good night and joy be with you all. And they're singing this, and they're laughing, and they're having fun. And then it came upon a series of other ads that Tullamore Dew had done with an Irish bartender in New York, and he's dressed nice. The way, if I were a barman, I would have an Irish pub or something that is very reminiscent of an Irish pub. The wood, the leather, the brass. This guy was wearing a shirt and a tie, and he had on a tweed vest. And he's talking. He has a very thick Irish brogue, which I can't really do well. And he was talking, and it made me think of Neil right away over there in Ireland. So all I want to say is I countered the opera with a little Tullamore Dew ads and some of the Parting Glass song that was playing. So Neil, it's good to see you here this morning. And Sean Bowden, I think I said good morning to you. Good to see you as well. I saw Lucky Stone was in here this morning. Good to see you as well. And let me just scroll through here and see who all we've got that's signed in and is talking anyway over in the chat room. And I don't scroll back enough to the very beginning. And Neil actually commented, one of the fourth comments this morning before I was even on air was, you may need to remind Scotty a while into the transmission. He rarely scrolls this far back. And that's the truth. And so, well, I think I've hit just about everybody who's here and raising their hand and saying good morning. So that's the beautiful thing about Sunday morning is it's Sunday, is we can be a little more informal and talk. And I'm not stuck to the strictures of the radio format. And good morning, Audrey. Good to see you, sister. And nice to have you here. And let's see. There's Kevin. How you doing, brother? Good to see you yesterday. And I want to say to everybody, and to you, Kevin, it was great having you here yesterday. And you reminded me a bit, though, as we were talking and reminiscing and all the years that have gone by, of my mortality, because we're all getting a little older. And I had a good talk with a very dear friend of mine this morning, and Carr is his name. And we were talking and musing over things. And I was talking about feeling a little older, being reminded. Sometimes we go by the mirror and we catch our images and we go, wow, who's that old guy? Other times we look in the mirror and we don't realize that we're aging because it's so gradual to us. And I look in the mirror some mornings and I look old and I feel old. And other mornings I look in the mirror and I say, damn, you're good looking and you are not aging ungracefully. You know, and we do that. And so I was talking to my friend this morning saying, you know, I'm reminded that I'm growing a little older. And my older friends who are aging with me are growing older with me. And so that was a little reminder that came yesterday when Kevin was over, that as we reminisced, when you can start remembering with clarity and lucidity all the things that were going on 30 years ago, you know you're getting up there. And I said to my friend Carr this morning, I said, there are days I long for the physique and the full head of dark hair that I used to have when I was 24. But I would never trade going back to that if I had to give up all the accumulated knowledge and the mind that I have at 59 going on 60. So there's the trade-off. I would never trade that off. And so I appreciate where I am, the lessons I've learned, the wisdom that's acquired. And wisdom, whenever you talk about getting wisdom, I always, I cringe a little bit at my own words when I say I think I've accumulated a bit of wisdom. And I like to put that caveat on there. I like to diminish it a little. I've accumulated a bit of wisdom over the years, but I'm still working on it. I'm still going and so on. We say it that way because, you know, wisdom, and I've often said wisdom is a lot like humility. Once you say you've got it, you've lost it. I'm humble. I'm wise. And so, you look at that and you say, I know I've accumulated some of that over the years, but talking about it sounds so self serving, so stupid at times. But I want to constantly remind myself, in saying this, my mouth is jumping ahead of my mind, as it usually does. But in this conversation I had with my friend this morning, Carr, we were talking about some things, and I made some statements about, feeling like I've grown a little older and sometimes looking in the mirror. And everybody, we all know this is a fact. Sometimes, even though I'm a happily married man, I love my wife. She's beautiful. She's intelligent. She's fun to be around. Sometimes she's a bitch. Sometimes she's hard to deal with. But then again, so am I. Well, no, I take that back. I'm always easy to be around because I'm an easygoing guy. But anyway, I was a bit of bemoaning the fact that, as we grow older, and you start to realize there are probably fewer days left ahead than I've left behind, because I'm getting old. Unless I live to be 120 years old, I've got fewer years left ahead. And so I was talking about that and talking about that stuff. And my friend said this, Carr said this to me this morning, and I've got it on my phone here because that's where we were talking. He said, I'm a vessel for youthful curiosity. That's the difference. And Carr, by the way, is my age. He says, I'm a vessel for youthful curiosity. That's the difference. Curiosity, always seeking to expand your knowledge, to continue to dig for new things, is the hallmark of youth, don't you think? He asked me. I don't think I look my age nor act it. And there's a downside, of course. Many of our peers no longer are looking for the curiosity, and they bore me, he said. And this is by no means, Carr, if you're listening, I don't mean to be letting out any confidentialities here. We're just talking. And because I'm the same way. My friends who no longer seek, who are no longer curious, who are no longer looking at expanding knowledge, seeking adventure, exploration, it can get a little boring sometimes. It would be boring for me with my lifestyle. And that's what Carr's saying here. He says, some of my older friends, they look the world with only a soupçon of curiosity. And so the world starts to become a diminishing thing. And we focus in on our health issues. We focus in on the fact that our bodies don't work as lively and sprightly as they did 30, 40 years ago. And we said some other things. We talked, we gave little personal platitudes to each other. Hey, you're looking pretty good. And there is some of that. And the reason I brought up my wife, Rainey, is that while I am utterly satisfied and happy, and I love my wife, and she loves me, and there's a great relationship there, there is, maybe this is just a male thing, and ladies, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's that certain thing that goes on as a man grows older that it saddens me that I don't turn the heads of beautiful young women anymore. Doesn't matter the age, it doesn't matter the what, but you say that because you say, I'm getting older, I put on some weight. My friend Carr, of course, had to remind me, he says, I've got the same pant size I had when I was 20. And I'm like, I wish I had the same pant size I had when I was 20. I'd probably look rail thin to you all, and you'd ask me if I was sick. But I'm probably 10 inches bigger in the waist than I was when I was 20. And if you measure it all out and I let it all sag, if I don't suck it in, but there's that factor in a man that says, have I lost my virility? Have I lost my attractiveness? And then we bring that into the mental, into the intellectual. Have I lost my intellectual appeal? Am I expanding my brain anymore? Am I going out there? Am I looking for ways to be vital, to stay vital, not just for the world around me, not just for the fact that I have a young family, not just for those things, but for myself. Am I the one doing that? Am I looking at where I am and what I have and saying, this is good and I'm going to keep expanding this and hope to God I never stop expanding that. I hope I can be on my deathbed some distant day in the future, lying there saying, I'm not like, if you've been listening to the radio series, I'm not like David, King David in the Bible, who in his old age, they had to bring in a young woman to get him heat in his bed. And I'm sure there's some euphemism in there as well, but he couldn't retain his body heat. His mind started to go. I would think I would rather lose my 24-year-old waist size than lose my ability as a 24-year-old to have expanded my brain. I want to always have a vital, active, wild imagination that keeps moving and keeps seeking and keeps discovering and keeps adventuring, even if there are parts of the body that don't want to go along with it. And so, and I mentioned to you last week, I was feeling a little under when we went to Fort Snelling, and I felt like my body was attacking me. Today, I feel the opposite of that. It's gotten better since that. I think I must have been under the weather or exhausted or something on top of it all. And I hope to keep going that way. I hope to keep expanding. And I hope my brain keeps expanding. Steve says, Scotty will be in the doghouse tonight or on the sofa. Not me. I'm going to be fine. And I love the way my wife jokes about my age. My friend Kevin yesterday said, Scotty, you robbed the cradle. And we're speaking to Rainey. And Rainey said, no, I robbed the grave. And so I'm okay with the joking around about that stuff. Yeah, electric blankets are good, Suze. I can handle that. And so all of that stuff I start to look at. And then, of course, all the old things that I've hit over the years come back to my brain. I found an old blog of mine this morning from, God, it had to be 15 years ago. I wrote this. And I republished it over on by the way, my Vocal site, vocal.com is what I think it is the actual. Some of you have seen it on my Facebook. I'm reposting old articles and posting new articles. I get like a fraction of a penny or something. I thought it was a penny per article or per read. And I've accumulated 50 cents over there in my account by the, or is it 25 cents? By the 50 plus reads I've had of those articles in the last few days. So thank you. If you want to contribute a penny or a fraction of a penny, go over and read my articles. At the same time, you can enjoy reading the articles, I hope. And I just posted one up this morning. And let's see if I can find. I've got it up right here. And this is an old blog that I wrote. Now, it's not, I don't think it's been cleared yet. It's still, they have to review all the articles you post over there, and then they post them, probably within an hour or two. And I called it Ode. The old article was called Ode to Cremation. And I retitled it today, Ode to a Sunday Morning. And I subtitled it Archaeology and Mirrors. And I said this, and here's some phenomenal profundity. I'm not as young as I used to be. I'm on that delicate cusp between youth and encroaching old age. Some might say encroaching with a question mark. Teetering ever so precariously along the edge of middle-agedom, 1 foot raised and poised for the next step into that great vacuous space before me, the other so daintily balanced upon a precarious pin's head. I pass by the mirror in the morning and wonder, what happened to the lithe youth who used to appear there, sans white temples and burgeoning man boobs? I flash a grimacing smile at myself and look at my teeth, wondering if some future archaeologist will someday uncover my skull in what he would describe as, we seem to have uncovered a late 20th, perhaps early 21st century burial pit containing the singular remains of an elderly Homo sapien who we can only deduce by the wear on his incisors and rear molars to have been a man of perhaps Northern European descent who lived primarily on a steady diet of Captain Crunch with crunch berries and broccoli. And then I say, Gadzooks! Think of what distant future conclusions would be drawn by the condition of your earthly bodily leave-behinds. Yikes. Imagine if our bodies were dug up 1,000 years from now, 2,000 years from now. What would they deduce by the condition of our skeletons? And then there's the drinking. I used to be able to drink like a fish. Now, after a beer or two and only 6 shots of well-aged single malt Highland Scotch, I feel somewhat unstable in the morning. And I think I need to cut back to no more than 3 shots per sitting. But I possess the wisdom. And Jennifer Yeoman, if you're there, I heard you say this morning on one of your videos. And I said this 15 years ago, believe it or not. I possess the wisdom to know that I am eternal. But the temporal altar on which I so often and unwittingly sacrifice sometimes takes over my mirror. Coffee. Where's my coffee? And that's how I ended that little rant this morning, that old rant that I made minor updates to. And Steph, how you doing? Good to see you. KTM, how you doing? Good to see you here. And Joyce Marie, nice to see you. Iowa X. Just look up the numbers on your knee replacements. I've got a hip replacement. So my right hip is titanium. And so I suppose they could look up the numbers on that. See, I wrote that article long before I ever thought I'd have joint replacements. So good to see you all, more of you coming in. It's good to see you here. I want to see you scroll back just a little bit to see if I've missed anybody else at the coming in of the show. And Roger Rabbit, there you are, brother. Good to see you. You got busy and missed the start. That's okay. I almost missed the start some mornings, but so that's just fine, and that's okay. I want to go back and see if there's anything else my friend Carr said to me this morning. Nah, some of that's personal stuff going back and forth, good friends. And so, and I used the term in describing something to him this morning as, and that such and such thing is going like hotcakes. And he responds to me, hotcakes? He says, that's some old vernacular there, you dog-faced pony soldier. So, you know what I look for in life? I look for, and what I love in my friends is the intellectual dialogue, the sitting and listening to music, and then discussing music, sitting and talking about theology, discussing it, and history and archaeology, those things. And then I like talking about life and the things we do. And I'm reminded of, there was a Henry Thoreau, I think is the guy who said, or was it Emerson? I think it was Thoreau, had a very famous thing that he wrote that was paraphrased and expanded upon in the movie. If you remember the Robin Williams movie, The Dead Poets Society. This came to my mind this morning in the talking of all of this. And talking about growing a little older, about deliberation, the things we do with deliberation, the places we take our minds, the things we dwell on. And this quote came to mind. Let's see if I remember it. The quote came to mind. I didn't even recite it in my head. I wanted it to be organic here. And this was only about a half an hour ago. I was thinking about this, and I said, the quote said, I went to the woods because I wanted to live deliberately. I wanted to take a bite out of life and put to rout or to death all that was not life, so that when I came to die, I would not be under the realization that I had not yet lived. And that's kind of where I want to be with all of this, where I want to be with my life. I went to the woods. You can do that physically. You can do that metaphorically. I went to the woods because I wanted to live deliberately. I wanted to take a bite out of life, chew on the gristle of life, spit out the fat of life, and put to rout or to death all that was not life, so that when I came to die, I would not realize that I had not lived. So that's my goal with my life. There are days, I'll admit, I don't feel like it. There are times over the last year where, and I am not one to fall into depression. I've never been bipolar. I've never been a depressant type of person. And I just talked about this, I think, the other day on my radio show. But I fell into a bit of a temporal depression this last fall and winter. And some of it was related to the physical stuff going on with my body. And feeling some of the degradation of body. Mostly because even though I've had surgeries and I've had, illnesses and stuff like that, I haven't kept it up as well as I should have. And there's nothing better than listening to an older guy say, don't ever give up exercising when you're young, or don't think you've got it licked. Don't rest on your laurels. I was once a person who was in very good shape. I used to bodybuild. Now, I wasn't one of those I wasn't taking roids or anything like that and getting big and bulky like that. And, that's not what I was. But I was lifting. I lifted weights. I lifted. And I ran, believe it or not. I biked a lot. And there was a point in my life where I had a pretty good physique. That's deteriorated because I rested on those laurels too much. When I met Rainey 15 going on 16 years ago, it was 15. It was 2005. I was 44 years old and I was biking 6 to 12 miles a day. And I was 70 to 75 pounds lighter than I am now. I still wasn't in perfect shape. I never had the six-pack abs going, but I was in good shape. And the problem I had was I left off with that thinking, I got this licked. I will never get fat again in my life. And, you let that go for 10 years and rest on that. Guess what happens? Yeah, you know it. And so letting the body go will decline the body. Letting the mind go will decline the mind. So what are the things I do to keep my mind or my body active? If I have to exercise my body, I need to exercise my brain. And so I like doing that. And I like surrounding myself with people who challenge my thinking. Neil, I'm just going to address something that you've said in the chat room. I don't want you to ever think that you being contrary on some issues or offering up philosophy, a different philosophical point of view, is ever looked down upon. I love it. You know why? It makes me think. Makes me think through my conclusions. And so never stop doing that. None of you, never stop doing that. If I present something, I'm presenting something from my point of view. I'm presenting something from my research, from my thinking. That doesn't mean my thinking is settled and it can never be moved. It's like I've often said about my theory about Senenmut being Moses. So I'm pretty set on that theory. And I'm pretty invested in it. However, that does not mean my mind can't be changed if I saw facts that seem to fit. And so I'm willing to give up my pet theories or my pet notions or my pet research, but I might challenge you, but that doesn't mean your challenge to me goes unaccepted or unloved. I enjoy a good challenge. And Neil says, I wish I had some hash oils. Menace. They're trying to legalize it here in Ireland. I wish I had some crack off a whore's naked butt. 2. I'm not mocking you, Neil. I'm just trying to be stupidly funny. So, yeah, I wish they would legalize that. So, anyway. Oh, and might I add, I'm drinking coffee from my Intrepid radio mug. You should go over to my Etsy page. Pick up a mug. There it is. I advertise this from now and then during my shows, but there it is, boldly going with bold coffee in this one. So go pick up your own mug or your own Intrepid magazine, radio shirt. Magazine. That was the first, was Intrepid magazine. Actually, this, you see the rocket? Same rocket. I just updated the lighting on this one in the windows. And that's the right. This shirt's from 2012 from our Paradigm Symposium with Intrepid magazine. So I have a theme going this morning. This shirt is not available. I should make it available again. And we said the Paradigm Symposium 2012. You can see right underneath there. And so I'm just going stream of consciousness here this morning, folks. If I'm jumping from theme to theme, hopefully there's an overarching umbrella in this conversation. But for the most part, I'm just going stream of consciousness. I'm blowing off the top of my head. So you might have to walk to the weed store later, says Sean. Well, have fun with that. KT Emma says, I'm surprised on someone that I used to listen to all the time, and a hard shell of a person comes across now. Sorry, I thought that was in context to what I was saying, so I hope I'm not that hard shell of a person. Let's see. So I'm going to see if anybody else has wandered in. Neil went off looking for mushrooms. I would probably poison myself. Oh, if I went off looking for mushrooms, I'd probably poison myself. You and me both, brother. Would need someone to know what to do. We were out at Fort Snelling, Rocky and I and Rainey, with our good friend Sarah Soderlin. If you watch The Situation Room, she comes on the show once a week. And she was talking while we were out there of gathering mushrooms while we were out in the woods, looking for a certain kind. And she pointed out and talked about, well, now that's a good kind right there. You can take and grind it up and use it for this, that, and the other thing. And I looked at that and I thought, if I went back home and the next day went out to the woods and started looking for mushrooms, I would probably poison myself. I have to have an expert along with me. I'm right there with you, Neil. So, Matt, ADHD radio. Indeed, brother. I don't know if we coined it, but Rocky and I started to, and when John was doing Intrepid or The Situation Room with us a few years ago, we felt that we coined the term ADHD radio, meaning you jump from topic to topic to topic. And we felt that was how we kept our audience, too. We actually build ourselves in all new settings where we were picking up networks and so on. We are masters of ADHD radio, meaning we could be talking about, Erdogan and Turkey and all the stuff he's doing over there and jump right into talking about mushrooms. Oh, that reminds me of mushrooms. So, and you know how many ADHD kids it takes to screw in a light bulb? Let's ride bikes. That's the way we were. Enjoying my coffee, another sip from my Intrepid mug. No product placement there. Coffee. So, Kevin, what'd you say? Somebody's laughing. 6-packs are highly overrated. Why settle for a 6-pack when you can have a keg? Duh. I'm right there with you, brother. And, if I could achieve one goal physically right now, it would be to flatten my stomach. I can live without the 6-pack. I don't know a lot of 60-year-old guys that sport hey, look at my 6-pack. I don't know a lot of those. And right now, I wouldn't go shirtless anyway. I got all this scarring and I got weird discolorations around the scarring, these little purpley things. And I look at that and I go, damn, even if I had a six pack and enormous pecs, I wouldn't look all that stunning on the beach. People will go, hey, look at that six pack. What's that? Maybe I need a full chest tattoo or something to cover all that up. I was talking to my daughter, Bryn, last night. Kevin was here. And Zach, her husband, he owns a tattoo shop in Charlotte, North Carolina. He's not a tattoo artist. He's the business brain behind it. And he partnered with a tattoo artist friend of his several years ago. And they started what is now probably the most high-end tattoo shop you'd ever want to visit. And they just opened yesterday for the first time since the whole coronavirus crap started in the home sequestration. And they opened up yesterday. And by the way, he said they had over 100 calls yesterday, their first day open again. And they were packed just from start to finish. And he gave me numbers and stuff. I won't share their numbers, but a phenomenal day. And so kudos to my son-in-law. But he's got tattoos all over his chest. He doesn't have them on his face and I don't think he has any that come up onto his neck. He's got some on his arms, but he's got them all over his chest. Really well done stuff too, by the way. And he looks great. I talked to my daughter yesterday. They're laying in bed. It was 11 o'clock at night. It was 10 o'clock here. And I'm talking to my daughter who's leaning up against her pillow, and she turns her phone over to Zach, who's laying there like this, and he's all tattooed up. And that's what made me think of that. So maybe I got to do that. It's too sensitive a scar to tattoo, Scotty, says Suze. Nerve ends have to close too close to the surface. Really? I can't tattoo that big ass scar? I'd show you my bare chest right now to show you what I'm dealing with, but it embarrasses me. So I'm not going to do that. But my scar, I got no problem with. It's all the other crap around it. So, and it's weird. I never thought I would look like that when I got older. I never thought I would have a problem taking off my shirt and in public at the beach or something. And I do now. And maybe somebody would say, well, that's just your immature sense of self. No, it's just that I don't like to have people look at me and go, I have some modicum of good sense. So I keep my shirt on anymore. I don't even like going to the swimming pool with my kids because then I got to be in front of all these other dads who bring their kids to the swimming pool. Mom, see where my brain went? The guy brain is always thinking, how do I look to the opposite sex, even at pushing 60? Like I said earlier, stream of consciousness, I'm jumping back to that now. As we get older as guys, we do, no matter how happy we are in our marriages and how in love we are with our wives, we get concerned about how the opposite sex views us. It's like you think way back in the back of your mind, the day that the opposite sex does not find me attractive is the day that will make me really depressed. So you always think that way because we're humans and we think that way. So I was happy that when I was 44 years old, I turned the head of my then 24-year-old wife. People are like, what are you dating a woman so young for? Why don't you date women your own age? That was Freudian. And I said, I'm not looking to date younger women. She was there and we met and I thought she was gorgeous and I liked her and we started hanging out and one thing went from there. I said, I wasn't looking for a younger woman. I wasn't even looking for anybody. I was just enjoying life. And Rainey came along and made it happen. And so I love my wife. And I'm not in trouble. I don't have anything I have to buy flowers for. I'm not going to be in the doghouse. There's no reason I'm saying this other than I love my wife. I think she's an amazing woman. Sometimes I take her for granted. Guys, you take your wife for granted? sometimes it's just natural. It's a thing we do. We forget. We just go through the motions every day and do stuff. And I think, oh, my wife is there to take care. Right now, they're not even up yet. It's 9:40. They might be awake watching TV up in the bedroom, and because I haven't heard anybody hit the downstairs here yet. I've been up since 5 this morning, and so I think, oh, my wife is there. She'll feed him. I don't think for a moment, what if she's dead in the bed? I mean, that's a morbid thought, and I don't mean it to be anything other than saying the things we take for granted. What if she left in the car all of a sudden while I'm in here doing radio and my kids haven't come knocking at you? Take for granted that other person is there. And, but I know she's there. And I will say this, it's not that stupid things might not happen in our lives, but I rest pretty safe and secure that my wife loves me and she's always going to be there. And hope to God she's always going to be there. And that's what I mean by taking them for granted. She'll always be there. But have you ever stopped? What if my partner dies? What if my partner leaves? I don't foresee Rainey doing that, leaving. But, you think, and I don't mean to be morbid, you just try to think realistically. Well, what would I do if I didn't have my wife here? And at the same time, I'm not taking her for granted in a weird way. I appreciate my wife, and I love building her up. I love singing the praises of the things that she does. I love praising her attractiveness. I love praising her ability to think. I love her art and her crafts that almost diminishes it. It's not a craft she does. It's art that she does. Her creativity is how I meant that. And I like to brag about her because I love my wife and I love the fact that she does those things. Does that mean I'm not attracted to other women? No, it doesn't mean that. It means I'm a natural guy when that happens. But I have the presence of mind to know that I love my wife. And so I don't know where I was going with that. Guys, you get it. And you get what I mean. And you get what I mean if you're growing a little older like me, where you say, I do everything I can do to try to keep looking as attractive as I can. You cut your hair. I don't let hair grow out of my ears. So the first thing the cashier notices at the store, the young 20-something cashier notices the tuft of hair coming out of my ear or my nostrils. You try to look decent. You try to stay in shape. Staying in shape for me right now, I'm not in shape. Let's put it that way. It's grotesquely gross right now. But I can get back there. So these things go on in your brain as you get older, along with the wanting to stay intellectually viable. And so there were a few things that were quotes that were running in my mind this morning. I told you about the one I went to the woods because I wanted to live deliberately. That's one that comes to my mind every now and then. I think about the irreplaceable moments of time. The older I get, the irreplaceable moments of time. Those things that you do with your time that you look a little further down the road and say, that time is gone forever. I will never be able to replace that moment. I look at my kids and I go, I'll never be able to replace the moments I have with them at this age in their lives ever again. And so I want to capitalize on that. But I find sometimes I'm a grumpier dad than I was when my older kids grew up. My twin daughters who were 28, my son who's 19, I wasn't as grumpy with them back then, that I remember anyway. I'm grumpier now. I think maybe that's because I have a mom around. Rainey, that's where maybe I take her for granted a bit. She is here. She is a mom. She plays the role of the mom. She lives the life of a mom. That's all she's done for 10 years until recent months. Just before the quarantining all started, she was starting to get out and do her massage therapy again at a couple of hotels up in Stillwater. And she did that for about a month and a half, and boom, all of a sudden we're all, everything closed down and we're in self-sequestration. So so she's home, but she's home all the time. I take for granted that she's there. And takes care of our kids and is a great mom, even though she swears like a sailor. She swears in front of our kids, uses the F word, the fuck word, if you wondered what F word I meant, a lot with the kids. God damn it, will you guys fucking pick up your shit? And I listen and I go, come on, let's not talk that way. And then I do it. But, kids got to hear a fuck every now and then, the words. And so she's pretty good at that. And that's a lot of the appeal of her too, is she's earthy, she's down to earth, she's not pretentious at all. My wife will say, oh, back when we were on food stamps, we were like, and I'm like, don't talk about that. I don't want people to know that. But then I think about it and I think, yeah, there was a point in our life where we were really not doing well. And we had to get public assistance. Now, people will say, oh, you're a conservative. How dare you use public assistance? And I said, hey, most conservatives I know don't have a problem with public assistance. They have a problem with people taking advantage of public assistance. Public assistance is there to help people when they need help. That's all I'm going to say on that political issue. So we used it when we needed help. When we were suffering, we were flailing a little bit financially. And we thought we were going to be homeless at one point, mostly because our credit sucked. We couldn't get a loan for a house. We were evicted from a house because we were 2 months late on our rent. And this is back, we're talking back several years now, but that happened to us. And it's not because we're losers or slackers, which always flew in the face, by the way. Being financially poor always flew in the face of, I've had so many friends over the years that tell me, how come you're not a millionaire now? You should be on the top of the heap. And I say, I asked the same question. And they're talking about my art and my design and my writing and stuff like that. So those things happen to good people. Those things happen to conservatives sometimes, believe it or not. And you know what? I didn't change my political philosophy because I became poor. Principles, please. Excuse me, that went down the wrong throat. I was just reading what Audrey was saying. Where did that go? Growing up in my house, the F word was fart. I wasn't allowed to say fart. But, dummy, stupid. If we did, Tabasco sauce on the tongue. That didn't last because I loved the taste. That figures, Audrey. So a switch was real. Yeah. My mom once told me, and I told you all this before, when I was a teenager and I was in high school, and I went to the church youth group and all of that, and I did all this activities with the church and stuff. My mom said, I wish you would just swear now and then so I'd know you're goddamn normal. Mom, if you're listening, I'm normal now. I swear a lot. So I want to read some of your comments. There's a great Irish comedian, Dylan Moran. He says about marriage, what if I die? How would they cope? Or even worse, what if they do cope? Yeah, what about that? You know what? I've thought about that because I'm 20 years older than my wife, my young, attractive wife. Young, and isn't that all perspective? When I was 19, a 40-year-old woman, you'd see an attractive 40-year-old woman every now and then. But when I was 19, 40 years ago, 40 was ancient. And now I say of my attractive young 40-year-old wife. So I've often thought that. I thought, if I die, how will she cope? You know what? She will cope just fine, God willing. I hope that my wife, if I should die young, should I die young? I would hope that my wife has still enough of the good juju she has to attract a whole list of suitors, and that she, if she so chose to be suiting, I don't think my wife would have any problem in that area, and I'm happy for it. But I hope we'll never have to face that problem. I also, on the other end of that spectrum, hope my wife will never have to change my diapers. I never want to lose the functionality of my body and have my wife have to take care of me. I would hope that my wife, if I ever lost functionality like that, would be able to put me in a home somewhere that helps me, and she'd visit me every day. And but wouldn't have to go through the nastiness of taking care of my dysfunctional body. So, Field Guy, good to see you. Who forgot to wake you up? So, never buy life insurance. You want them to suffer if you die. Yeah, that's like the old phrase. It's become an old, overused adage now. My grandfather told me in the 1970s, he said, I plan to spend every penny of your inheritance. So, and he did. He left, he had that little piece of land on the island off the north coast of Honduras in the Caribbean. And that was about the only thing he really had kind of left over. And he bought that for, I think, like $8,000 to $12,000. That figure changes the more I think about it. Back in the late 70s, he had 750 feet of white sand beachfront on the Caribbean, on this little dot of an island that was inhabited by fishermen, and he had coconut trees, banana trees, and all of that on his land. He never built there. He lived on the other island that was a few miles away, Roatan. And but when he passed, that 8,000 to 12,000 piece of land that he bought sold for over $350,000. Now that went to other family members. I didn't see any of that, and I didn't want any of that. It wasn't my thing. I'm just saying that's what he had. There's one thing I have of my grandfather's, and I may have shown this to you before. It's over here somewhere. Hang on. Let's see if I can. It's slid between the bookshelves here, I believe. Yeah, there it is. Nope, that isn't it. Hold on. It's back here. I'm going to stand up. I got to stand up and get this. Hang on. Because I want you to see this. And I may have shown it to you before. Ba-bam. All right. This is one thing I have of my grandfather's. He passed already, 25 years ago. Doesn't seem that long ago. But I went down to Honduras a couple of times with him, and or to visit him. And he died before I even knew Rainey, so Rainey never got to go down there with me. But he had this. This was carved by one of the locals on his little island there. And it's his walking stick. And he used this not because he needed a walking stick because he was feeble. It was his hiking stick. He would take this along with him. And it's very crude, and the artwork isn't what you would call top-notch artwork. I mean, if you look at this, you can see it's got a couple of leaves carved in the top up here. Somebody put a 4-leaf clover on there. It's something vaguely reminiscent of a clover, a heart. And there's vines and things that are carved into this. You can see that. And I think they used shoe polish to color the wood when they were done, and then finished it off somehow. But this was carved about 30 years ago. This is my grandfather's walking stick. This stick went around the world with my grandfather. And there's his initials in the top, OJ, Oscar J. Gould. He was OJ before OJ made OJ infamous. So we always knew him as Grandpa OJ when I was growing up. But this stick went around the world with him. And he was the master of traveling the world on, 12 cents a day type of guy. He'd throw on a backpack or a knapsack and had a little Kodak Instamatic camera. And there was one time in the mid 80s, 1980s, he went on a tour of the jungles of Korea with his knapsack, his walking stick, and a hammock. And he would sleep in the jungles at night wrapped in a hammock. And he bragged, you should have seen the twinkle in his eye. And he said, I said, you do that all alone? He goes, no. He says, I had a 30-year-old traveling companion. Twinkle in his eyes. I said, what was her name? And I don't remember the name. That was my grandpa for you. But this is the one thing of his that I got, was his walking stick, his adventurer's explorer's stick. So I've got that. But Neil says, I curse like a sailor too, Scotty, with my friends. The other night I called my mom after being with friends and asked, Ma'am, how the fuck are you doing? How are you fucking doing? Jesus, she was shocked. I can hear you saying that. Jesus, she was shocked. So, yeah, I swear with my mom too a lot, Neil. But sometimes it's for effect to hammer home. I said to her not long ago, I said, remember when you told me you wished I'd swear? I said, I got over that problem, Mom. And so I swear not because it's affectatious or I need to have some kind of foul language bolster my speech. I don't need that. I swear because it's fun. I enjoy it. I don't see it as an oath or making a minced oath against God in the heavens. I don't see that. There are certain people I don't swear around just because I'm being polite until I hear them swear. So I don't swear around clients until a client says, oh, that's fucking awesome. And I go, fuck yeah, it is. So, that's when I swear. I'm like, I'm so glad you said fucking, because now I can be free. So let me go back through some of your comments here. KTM says, I'm never going to give birth again. My daughter's about to be 16 and I'm not with her. And that's the whole long story. But that was a beautiful experience, but I'm never going to be my first. It'll never be my first again, I think is what she's saying. Yeah, I hear you on that. I will never have my first children. Now, I didn't give birth, obviously. I just helped make them. Guys have the fun part. We help to put them in. Here, let me make a deposit in the love bank. And whenever you see me type that, it doesn't have the effect of saying it. The love bank. Bom, chicka, bum, bum, chicka, chicka, bum, chicka, bum, bum. Government cheese sandwiches were a staple of the 70s and 80s. That's true, Iowa. I remember government cheese. I don't think we ever got any. I think once we went down and picked up some government cheese just because we could. Some big block of some amorphous, tasteless cheese that was mildly yellow. So I'm going backwards here looking. Let's see what we got here. Rainey has spunk, says Teresa. You're right. She does. Steve Clark says, I used to say that I would never get married when my mom would ask me. One time I said that if I get married, it will be to a Swede. My wife was a Swede. I was 39. She was 45. Come July 29, 26 years. Congrats. And Roger Rabbit, living on them right now. It is what it is, unfortunately. I hear you, Roger. Yeah, it builds character. Yeah, Rainey's colorful. She's colorful like a sailor. Oh, and she's got a tattoo, too, on the back of her shoulder and one on her inside of her. She wants to do a new tattoo. She doesn't know where. I said, I can tell you where. I said, let me get out my Sharpie. Let's practice on where to put a new tattoo on you. And so she wants a tattoo. I told her I want to design one for her. So let's see. Looking back, I try to stay and look healthy for me and others I'm with, says Steph. Exactly. I want my wife to be able to walk in public with me and go, "It's my man. That's my man. Ladies, take your eyes off of my man." Because that's the way I am with her. I'm like, guys, you can look all you want, but that's as far as it goes. So let's see. I'm just scrolling through your comments. Rainey looks at Scotty like a schoolgirl madly in love, says Teresa. I hope that's what that is. And not dismay or bewilderment. Let's see. Steve Clark lost his wife 4 years ago. Yeah, I remember reading that, Steve. Sorry to hear that, brother. Macabre says, my wife had a stroke in February. I know all the thoughts. Yeah. My wife has some physical things that are going on, and it concerns me sometimes. If I had gone in, I'm going to tell you this. If with the things my wife experiences physically, if I went into my doctor and said I had any of those things, they'd have me in an ICU unit running test after test after test. With her, they kind of like brush her off. Oh, well, maybe we can give you something for anxiety. That's like, it's not all anxiety. So, yeah, Rena loves me. I'm lucky. I am lucky. Iowa says, women my age date men over 60. I date women under 35. How old are you, Iowa? You somewhere in the middle of those two numbers? Steve Clark was more into the older ones. Yeah, I dated some older women. Dated and went out, hung out with, did things with older women when I was a younger man. Sure. Mike Yehudi, man, I haven't been found attractive. I don't think ever. Mike, I find you very attractive. Just thought I'd let you know. Let's see. Do the lisp. Says Sterling. Rocky does a better lisp. Sterling. Gaze upon my man boobs, says Mike Yehudi. Look at how we're elevating the level of this show right now. Sun isn't good for scars, says Teresa. Don't I know it? You know, I got pictures of me laying on the deck in the sun, shirtless, about a month after my heart surgery. And I was just trying to get color back. And I didn't look so bad back then. I looked a little beefcakey, but, you know. You and Rocky should do a colon cleanse and talk about how the outcome for healthy men. Kay, I've done one of those. And I've only done one. My doc, the last time I was in about 6 months ago, said something about, let's see, are you up for a colonoscopy? I go, no, please, God, no. And he says, no, you got another year before we have to do that. Now, I got a physical coming up in about 2 weeks with my doc. I hope he's not going to schedule a colonoscopy because I don't care. They shove tubes and cameras and shove up your ass and they look for stuff. I get that. But I slept through the whole thing. They knocked me out. And so didn't bother me. Didn't hurt afterwards either. The worst part of the colonoscopy was the 24 hours before where you have to drink a gallon of that yellow shit that makes you poop everything out. That was a pain in the ass, literally. No pun intended. So I don't like to be cold at night either. My feet get cold. My circulation's starting to go. So just a little bit. And some of those old comments. We already hit some of those earlier. I think that men that have a great sense of humor are very attractive. I worked in the restaurants and you met all kinds. I'm not sure what that was hailing back to, but I'm amazed daily, says Roger Rabbit, to watch Carly get through each day with what ailments and autoimmune diseases she has. It simply amazes me. Yeah. And folks, and please post the link that helps out with Carly's medical GoFundMe. I don't have it in front of me, so somebody post that, please. KTM, okay, Scotty. Well, got to go to the Sweat Lodge. Now you're heading out to the Sweat Lodge right now. I'm going to do one of those with Ruben Fast Horse coming up here soon. Yeah, Iowa, your cell phone up your ass. Yep. Love your live shows, says McCause. Mr. Roberts, you handsome guy. I'll take that any day of the week. Oh, my friend Carr told me today. He said something to me, and I said, why, thank you. I'll take that. Remember I was reading, we were talking about stuff, and he said, where did he put that? He says, you're all twisted steel and sex appeal, when we were laughing about our encroaching old age. He said, I think you roughly look like an older man, but you don't act it. Animated with interests such as we are gives us a kind of leading man agelessness. You're all twisted steel and sex appeal. And I would agree with him. And we're not bragging on each other. We're just saying, I think this is the attitude you need to approach life with. Back to that topic for a second. So, folks, I think that'll be the new t-shirt. Twisted steel and sex appeal. So that's what we'll do next. Neil said, I have a habit of saying, well, fuck me pink. And if I hear something I never heard before, I'm surprised. And that's a difficult curse to keep in check. Yeah, it is. It's like we used to say, what's the difference between pink and purple? The grip. Yeah, Steph will buy that one. Cool. Yeah, I'll get that one. Cool shirt idea. I'm going to thank my friend Carr for that. So, what time we got? It's 10:07. We've been going for an hour. We should do a couple of readings here, huh? Before it gets too late. And it's going to be a nice day. I'd like to do some gardening today, some landscaping out of my yard. So we'll have to see how it goes with the rain. Hopefully the rain's not going to come. Suze, you asked for a reading. I'm going to do Suze first. And folks, I'm just going to do one card readings today, if you're okay with that. We can get a few more in, and just give us an idea. A one card reading. There's no other cards to augment it, no other cards to add meaning and dimension. But I think a singular card reading, if we set out for that, to start with that, I think it'll give us a good idea. And as you all know, I've said I'm a Jungian card reader. I believe in the archetypes of the tarot. And I believe that there's some kinetic energy that gets put into it. I also believe, and I have to say, even after the talk we had on Rocky's show with Michelle Motherella the other day, I believe that there is something there that governs the spread of the cards. I'm not an atheist. I don't believe that God doesn't exist, to use a double negative. I believe he's there. I believe that there are energies that work. I believe that the cards work. I believe astrology works to a certain degree in a different way. And so I rely on that when I do a card reading. So let's do some single card readings here. And we're going to start with Suze over there in Australia, down under. I wish I could speak with an Australian accent. It'd be kind of cool. I should move to Australia with my kids and have them grow up with Australian accents. All right, for Suze, one more time. Let's shuffle this. And Suze, if you were here, I'd have you cut this. So let's cut it for you. Boom. Here we go. All right, Suze, here's your one card for today. It's the Page of Cups. Now, you see the Page of Cups? Has he got the fish? Yeah, he's got the fish. The little trout that's in his goblet. And, of course, cups, that's all about our passions. It's about our romances. It includes our romances, our relationships, the things we pour our passions into. And that reminds me of the song. Whenever I see this card, I think of the Song of Wandering Angus. It's a song, but it was a poem of William Butler Yeats. And he talks about hooking a berry to a thread and dropping it in the stream, and he caught a little silver trout. Um, I'll read that poem for a second when we're done with this reading. But the Page of Cups, it's a message to you. It's refers to you, your introspective nature, and it really inclines toward art. It inclines toward possessing a kind heart. It says that you might let credit pass you by that's due you, out of perhaps shyness or a reticence to be able to express that about yourself. And it might talk about somebody who's being able to aid you right now and help you out, but with that same shyness and reticence that you turn that down, you don't pick them up on that. And so don't be so dependent on self that you miss the messages that are coming or the help that's coming to you. And you can develop ideas, is what this card is talking about. It's a card that also signifies fertility, sometimes physical fertility, meaning there's a baby coming, either for you or somebody close to you. But I think this is more about you because it's talking about fertility of ideas, fertility of brain power, great creative new ideas and things that are on you right now. It's good news about something new and creative for you. An importance to having a fresh outlook on where you are and what's going on in your life, and you see the humor in life. You got to remember the healing power of being able to laugh and all that. You're a pretty serious kind of chick, Suze. I see a lot of your posts over on Instagram and the things you think about, but I also see you as a very humorous person, that you can see the humor in life, and that if you didn't, it would sink you. And this is a card that says that's recognizing that and also encouraging you to keep up doing that creative, wonderful, humorous side of life. This is a gentle, artistic, dreamer type message with this card. It's announcements of good news, new messages, serene beginnings to something that's good for you, and it makes you feel good and brings up your good humor, brings up your life. And so the page being the messenger of the king, this is a card that says there's positive things happening around you. There's positive new ideas and things that you can do. And so this is going on for you right now. Good news coming. And that's such a tarot thing to say, isn't it? But it's talking about positive vibes, positive things, good news, expanding your horizons creatively. And the overall message is very positive for you right now. So there you go. That's what I get out of the one singular card. How you use that, only you know. What your creative streaks are, what your humor is like, what's going on in your life, and the things of your life right now. So this card is just saying there's a positive spin to it now. Positive bent. Positiveness. And you resonate with his reading. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. All right. All right, let's move on. Teresa, Neil says, has 3 people lined up. And I got to scroll back and see that. Who's next? Just give me who's next. Give me a name. Whoever's next on the list. And Audrey, read next. Here we go, Audrey. This one's for you, and you look great in your UFO t-shirt, by the way. Audrey just put on her Hop Aboard, Losers shirt, Rainey's UFO shirt. All right, that's for Audrey. Audrica, I see Disneyland is reopening in your future. All right, I'm going to cut this deck for you. Let's see where we end up. Here we go. Audrey, you got the 5 of Cups. Bang. The overall message of this card, Don't cry over the 3 spilled cups when you still have 2 standing. It's saying that you might have a tendency right now to let your passionate side get so involved in the things that seem to have been lost that you're not seeing the things that are good that you still possess. I've always said of this card that while 3 of the cups are tipped over and the wine is spilt out, and the guy on the card is grieving over the loss of the 3 cups and its contents, he's not focusing on the 2 which are over here, which are still full. And he's got those 2 full goblets to look at. And he can always, you know what you can always do with a spilled over cup? Turn it upright and refill it. So there's always things to refill our cups with. And so this is a card that is really concerned about you perhaps focusing too much on the things that are lost. It's all bound up in your emotions, this card. And it's a warning of loss, of disappointment, the things you've lost and that have left you feeling a bit bereft, setbacks in your life, emotional ones especially. And the urge is to try something new as a result of disappointment or dissatisfaction. And your current sadness over things that you've lost, Audrey, is an expression of failed expectations. The things that you've wanted to be so in maybe in life in the broader spectrum, but in the temporal, those things that you've lost, those are failed expectations. And this card is telling you, don't stop exploring the alternative paths that you discover. And if you're avoiding that truth, it's going to be difficult to create any sustainable satisfaction. This is a card that says, don't dwell in the past. Everybody's got tipped cups. It's not belittling those tipped cups. Those may have meant something big to you. But if you're not careful, an error in judgment on your part could lead to regretful conclusions. So you got to be ready to repair any damage you might have caused and to forgive yourself and to undamage yourself, so to speak. It's a regretful card. It's sadness. It's loss. It's despondency. But it's over things that you can correct. And it says the thing about recognizing all those things with this card is one that also says you can undo that by not focusing on the loss, but rather focusing on what you've got and what you can build on. So there you go. Hey, Susie Q. Did you just pop in and pop out? I didn't see you earlier. She says, loved you all so much. Have a good day. So I don't know if that means you popped in and now you're gone. So good to see you here. So there you go, Audrey. I hope that's meaningful. I hope that means something to you. Your last week's been hard. Yeah. That's what that card definitely says. You've lost some things. You can tip those cups right back up and fill them. Don't dwell. The hardest thing for all of us, human nature, is to dwell on the things that hurt us, to dwell on the things that have disappointed us, to dwell on the to dwell on the crapped up expectations we've had. And we can all get lost in that stuff. So move on from it. Be resilient is the message there. I think the beauty of a card like this, Audrey, and everybody listening, is that this card proves to me that something out there is telling you something. Someone, something, source, originator, creator. The message is, in displaying a message of loss and grief and sorrow and all of those things, is the message that this might be where you are and you don't need to stay there. Focus on the 2 cups you have metaphorically speaking, and work at tipping those other cups back up and filling them with new stuff. Boom. There it is. So I hope that's helpful to you, Audrey. All right. KTMI here is next. Let me shuffle for you, K. Let's see what we got here. I haven't talked to you in a while, so I don't know what is going on current in your life. But so I'm not going to go on any memories of anything I have of conversations we've had. I'm just going to take this new and fresh for you, K. Here we go. K, if you were here, have you cut this deck? Boom and boom. Let's see what we got. All right, K. I pulled a 10 of cups for you. We had all cups this morning so far. Cups, again, the suit of your passions, the things that you are passionate about, be it relationships, be it romances, love. Those things are all included in this. This is a card. You see the 10, and there's the rainbow, the arc of goblets over the head. This is all about being, it's imbued with emotions, emotional undertones. It's signaling the mending of bridges. It might be between you and friends, you and family members that you were once close to, and there might have been a rift. This is signifying a mending of that. It might be really symbolizing your own inner emotional turmoil coming to some resolve. If it's marriage, it's usually indicative of lasting emotional bonds. But this could be just about yourself, coming to terms with something in yourself, forgiving yourself for something, moving on, finding resolve in things that were tough issues for you to resolve. And it's taking confidence in the direction that you're going, following your convictions, not the convictions somebody else tells you you need to have. And you're being propelled forward. And it's commitment, your comfort with allowing yourself room for recognition of your own success in coming forward, in moving forward. It's harmony. The card represents harmony, abundance, happiness. There might be personal family dreams that are all mixed up in this. An overall sense of satisfaction, security in life are coming out of this card. Doesn't mean you won't hit other things ahead. It means now, here in the now. Positive achievements, emotional stability are what are ahead for you with this card. So it's mending bridges, both external and internal, is what this card means. So, hope that means something for you. All right. Let's move on. Who do we have next? Steve is next. All right, Steve. Step forward, brother. Let me, and thank you, Teresa, for keeping track of that for me. Steve, let's shuffle up for you. One more time. I like to shuffle just to rearrange. What if you get the same card as one we've already drawn? You might. But I like to shuffle up. Anyway. All right, Steve, I'm going to cut this deck for you. Boom and boom. Here we go. Here's your card, Steve. You have the Two of Wands. The Two of Wands. Wands is all about, it's the suit of your emotional makeup. It's the things that make you go in the morning, that makes you look in the mirror and go, damn it, I'm happy to be alive. And I got stuff to do and places to go, things to do, to expand myself. Now, the two, it's kind of suggesting this formulation of a relationship or a partnership in your immediate future. It could be a friendship, could be a romance, things of that nature, but it's a partnership, which can mean many different things in many different categories. And you're going to find yourself in a position to reap the rewards of partnerships, possibly financial gain, possibly promotion, things like that. That's what the card stands for all by itself. At the same time, this card is saying these are things that are due to you. Now, if we say, I deserve this, none of us deserves anything, really. But the deserving here is one that you've earned. So it's talking about you, any kind of profit that you're getting from this, any kind of reward, any kind of advancement. This is stuff that's fairly due to you. And this might also point to an underlying insecurity or worry on your part that you're not getting the recognition that's due you, the partnership that's due you, the good things that are due you. They might be justified feelings. And only you're going to know this about yourself. All the effort of investment you put into your life, your development, your research, your application of your skills, it's all led you to progress in your life. But if you intend to arrive at your intended destination, you have to continue investing that. You have to continue doing it. Can't stop and rest on your laurels, in other words. This is keep moving forward. There might be a generous offer that helps you with things. Analysis, development of your ambitions and the things you're engaging in. And if you look at this influence is really going to help you get where you want to be. So this is all about being in control and experiencing gains in your life really on your terms. You're going to keep doing what you're doing. I'm not going to be brought under by the power of anything. And at the same time, it brings a little anxiety. It's the possibility of losing control of what you might have. I've always seen this card as there are things, and I've said this before, we all have this God-shaped vacuum in our hearts that only God can fill. That's the way I used to say it when I was in a more theological setting. But we all have these gaps in our hearts that need filling to reach fulfillment. And we keep filling them full of shit that doesn't fit. Doesn't fill it out to the recesses of the shape, the puzzle piece. So we keep trying to cram stuff in there, doesn't fit. Shake it and dump it all out and start cramming other stuff in there. Doesn't fit. And we keep going through this process in life. Very few are the people who are very focused and know exactly what they're cramming into the cavities of that gap. And so this is saying you're still searching for that. You still want to find that. And if you keep investing yourself in the things that matter to you, you're going to find that. But do it with focus, with deliberation. Don't fall back. Just because you're 65, going to be 65, I think, this week or sometime this month. Steve, I'm not far behind you. When we get into our 60s, there can be that complacency that comes around. I'm getting older. Stuff I started talking about at the beginning of this little program this morning. But don't let that happen to you. It's the idea. Don't get complacent. Don't set it aside. You say you're retired, everything's almost paid off, so now to fix my place up. Yeah, do the things that invest in you. Fill the gaps. If I was retired, if I had everything almost paid off right now, if I didn't have to worry so much about my income to keep my family afloat, there'd certainly be things I'd be invested in. I'd be investing in. I'd draw more. I'd write more. You'd see more of that coming out of me. Right now, as an artist and a writer, I do those things to survive, to stay alive. Wouldn't it be nice to do those things, continue doing those things you've always invested in to just enhance where you are in life now? So, boom, right on the nail on the head, he says. What you caught of it. There you go, Steve. So I hope that makes sense for you. Obviously it does. So there you go. Beautiful. Let's do a couple more, guys. Who's next? There was a list going. Is there anybody else on the list? I see nice K, somebody said. You must have said something, K. So that I missed somewhere along the way. All right. Let's do a couple more. Who'd like to be next? First one who wants to be next, let's read you. And in the meantime, let me say, this is part of what I do for a living. If you want to get a full reading, I do 5-card and 10-card readings, which give you a lot more insight. Respectively, $45 and $85. You can go over to my website, scottallenroberts.com, click on the tarot link, and there's a couple of PayPal buttons there. Just click on one of those, sign up, give me your contact information there, and we'll line you up. So Roger wants to read. Roger, you're next. And so if you want to get a full reading, do that. Maybe one of these days I'll offer $5 for a single card reading, and we'll just crack out a bunch of them. We'll line them up. But this is a sample of how we can get that done, of how those are done. So, all right, Roger, here we go. Let me shuffle up for you. All right, this is for Roger Rabbit. Not his real name. So, I think the energies that be realize who you are. So, pseudonym or no. All right, one more time. All right, Roger, if you were here, I'd have you cut it. So I'm going to cut it for you. Boom, boom, and boom, and here's your card. All right, brother, we got the 2 of coins. 2 of coins. Coins is also pentacles in the older decks and some other decks. The coins, of course, have to do with your material well-being. It has to do with the stuff of your life that makes your finances go, that keeps your head above the water, all of that stuff. And the 2 you see here on the card, he's balancing, kind of balancing the 2 coins you see there in the infinity symbol, meaning keeping it going, keeping it balanced, keeping it moving. And this is being confronted with the fact that you've had some difficulty of beginning something new in order to bring about more success for yourself on a material level. And you have to learn to balance all your old practices with your new practices. And this is talking about a change for the better that's arriving for you. It's communicated information that comes to you. You're going to receive prudent counsel on the best courses to take, even though your states of affairs are kind of fluctuating a bit. And this is a card that's telling you to really determine what's your most valuable strength and how that can help you create opportunities for yourself, while at the same time finding a road out of your ambivalence. You've got stuff going on that's getting you to the point where there's almost an ambivalence, a cynicism that could be setting in about certain things. It's the whatever. And there's that maybe inability to move forward with newer things or ways out of that because you're a little stuck in that indifference, ambivalence, not sure what to believe about things anymore. And this is saying, don't give that up. You just have to keep it in better balance. We all doubt. We all have ambivalence. We all have cynicism about things. God knows I do every day. But we balance those with what we know we can do. I can be I'm speaking to myself. I'm using this as an example, Roger, but I could be ambivalent and cynical in my own situation about things. Like, why am I here when I should be there? Why am I not moving forward? And you start to get a cynicism about it. But at the same time, I have to stop and realize I can keep moving forward. I've got a brain. I've got the capacity to move, make new ideas happen. I got the ability to apply balance to my situation. That's the key, is me. And so this card, the Two of Pentacles, the infinity symbol and the two coins, it shows movement. It shows balance, growth through change, possibilities of fluctuating wealth. Coins are up and down. It's going to require juggling act of your own that you've got to put into play. And it's going to bring ups and downs. And the workload's going to be heavy. And there's no clear answer that's provided by this card. It's just saying, apply the balance you need to apply to it, and it helps you get through it. It helps you succeed through it. Success is our own state of mind about the ups and the downs and the fluctuations that we experience every day. There are days where I have absolute doldrums. I have absolute discouragement about, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not getting ahead. Oh my God, how am I going to pay that? Things like that, of that nature. And then the next day I'm totally different because my outlook changes when I think about it. And I say, here's what I can do. Here's what I can. And the opposite is true too. So you said you've been struggling with giving all my whole life and not having it returned or reciprocated. It slowly wears you down. Man, I know exactly what you're talking about, Roger. Giving. And I mean, sometimes that works in our favor. When I met Rainey, I said, I'm a very giving man. And so, I can make light of it that way. We can make light of things because we know we can change things. And Roger, you're a giving guy. And this is recognizing that, but that you've grown ambivalent to that. I'm a little tired of it, as you're saying. But keep your eyes open. Make the changes that you have to change that help affect that. Don't give so much that you don't save a slice of the pie for yourself. And there's opportunities that are there to help better that. Don't ever lose sight of those things. Keep doing what you're doing, but enhance it with that outlook that I'm going to take advantage of what I have and make that work for me. And that's all this card is about. Balance, balance, balance. Balance yourself out. Roger, if you're given too much, find ways to not have to give so much that it leaves you depleted. You can give and be a generous giver without depleting yourself. All right. Good guys finish last. So sometimes I don't mind being a loser. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, good guys do finish last, it seems. But you don't have to. Yeah, I think good guys might finish last, but they finish on top. So, not giving the whole pie is my weakness. Not even sure how to keep a piece at this point. It's my current life struggle. I get that, brother. I get that. Sometimes it hits us financially. Everything, every penny I make goes to everything to keep my family afloat. And what do I have? Every now and then I can buy a t-shirt. Maybe that's the slice of the pie I have. I just bought a new pair of shoes because I've worn through all my daily shoes. I got great dress shoes, but I don't wear dress shoes with jeans and go head into my day kicking around in the yard. I got hiking boots. I don't wear those every day. My daily shoes are dead. I bought a new pair of shoes. That's a piece of the pie for yourself. As silly as that seems. So you got to find creative ways to make it work. Iowa X gives a hard time freely. Yeah, there you go. Never left with a piece of that pie. So, Roger, keep at it. Keep your chin up. Keep your eyes open. Keep looking for ways to balance your situation. Balance the way you approach it. There's always something that's going to tear us down. There is no end to the list of things that will tear us down if we let them. Got to make that choice. Yeah, Sue said it. I feel like that. I give easily and I don't serve self well. Well, serving yourself, do you think you are good for anybody else? In all the giving you do, are you good at giving if you've not given to self? No. Wears you down. You just become the giver, and pretty soon you're going to fitter out, fade away, and then somebody else will come in and start doing the giving. Balance, the infinity symbol, balance. Not even 70% giving, 30% keeping. It's 50-50. Keep the balance there. Give as much to yourself as when I had trouble paying bills, I'd have bill collectors would call me. Well, can't you take that money that you got in a bit? No, I said, that's my money. That's for me. I have to pay myself too. And, many of you have been in that situation. I work and work and work and work just to get enough to pay the bills so I can go back to work. It's like I work and work and work and work to pay my car insurance so I can drive to work and make more money to pay my car insurance. That kind of stuff. I get that. Finding balance takes a little work on self to find that balance. And so, Roger, do that. Look for ways to balance. There are tools you can use. There are mental tools you can use. May I suggest something that's easy to say and hard to do and hard to see the results of? Meditate. If you don't do it already, take some time to meditate on what you have, on what you're doing, on where you are. And focus on your life. Because you've got one too, even though you're sustaining those that are around you. All right? Hope that works. Balance. Balance is key. All right, folks. I think I'm done. Yeah, you need new shoes too. Oh, Andrea next. Oh, that's right. I said I'd do 2 more, so I'll do Andrea and then we'll be done. All right. So yeah, Roger, it's always nice getting a new pair of shoes. So I got some moccasin style types that are coming in that I mail ordered. That'll be comfortable on my feet, blah, blah, blah. So find something that works for you, that's your comfortable shoes, that you don't care what anybody thinks about what they look like other than you. What was it? Orson Welles said, a sense of style is knowing what you want, what you like, doing that, not giving a damn about what anybody else thinks. Boom. Thank you, Roger. All right, Andrea, this one's for you, and then I'm going to be done after this one. So here we go. Andrea. Which Andrea is it? Up there. An Andrea I know? Or Andrea that's been in the group before? Not sure if I recognize who Andrea is, but that's okay. I don't need to do a reading. All right, here we go. I'm going to cut this deck for you, Andrea. There we are. Andrea, here's your card. You have the 6 of Swords. Now, if you look at this card, first of all, Swords is the suit of conflict. Conflict you give out, conflict you get. It's also a symbol of power and authority, that you hold the sword of power and authority in your hand. I can grip any one of these swords by the hilt, and I would hold the power of that sword. But this is a card, if you look at it, it shows a family in a boat. They're heading out from the shore, which is in the background. They've cast off from shore. husband, wife, child. The prow of the boat, you don't see where it's heading. They're on the water, which signifies emotion. And this is a card that says you need to move away from the things that are no longer tolerable in your life. This family is casting off from shore, heading to God knows where, but it's away from there, is the idea with this card. And you are heading to something that is more tolerable. You have to go to a different shore, either physically or metaphorically. This is a card that could mean physically, you need to get up and out of where you are and go somewhere else for your own good, because that has grown intolerable. It may also mean that it's metaphoric. It's internal. I've got to move off of this thing that no longer serves its needs for me. It's hurting me to stay here, and I have to move here. Either way, this is a card of movement, and the swords are telling you it's built in conflict. There's something going on, but you need to use those swords to move yourself forward. Because what you will leave behind, you can no longer stay there. It will eat you alive if you do. So put an end to it, move something forward. Be that physical, be that metaphoric, be it emotionally, whatever it might be it a job, be it a relationship, a family, a friendship, or whatever it might be. Move yourself away from that and to that. That's what that card is telling you to do. And the outcome of that is going to be you finding a better place, a place where you need to be. You have to overcome a hurdle, but you also have to stay true to who you are. Any understanding and objectivity that you possess is something that you've earned. You've worked your way there, and it's going to lead you to a better place. There's going to be a huge change in your life that's indicated by this card. I mean, huge change. It's a burden or a challenge you have to face that you have to overcome, or that you're in the process of overcoming. It's a journey to escape into mental clarity and vision. It's a better, positive future for you if you take the steps you need to eradicate yourself from that thing back there, whatever it is. And this is the problem that most people face, is we would rather stay in the problem and ask for the poor me's, and oh, poor me. Many people get attention out of the poor me's. Don't do that. Leave it behind. Leaving behind is a big step. But 20 years from now, you'll regret more the things you didn't do than the things you did do. So cast away from the safe harbor. Set your sails to the trade winds. Explore, dream, discover. Whether it's physical or mental, emotional, metaphoric, do it. So, Andrea, that's what this card is saying. Leave behind that which is no longer of use and is intolerable in your life, and move to something better, or you'll be stuck there. And then there's nobody to blame but yourself, because you didn't move from it. Move from it. Boom. Make it happen. Move in your life. So there you go. Andrea, I hope that made sense. And I hope it's meaningful for your whatever your situation is. So there you go, folks. There's our readings for today. And Six of Swords, Steph. Yeah, move away from things. Steph says, I'm an emotional hoarder. I keep everything hoping that I can fix it someday. You know what? Sometimes you can't fix anything. Steph. The only fixin' is leaving it. That's fixed. It's fixed now. Boom, gone. Not something I have to worry about. Be it, again, something physically that you're doing or just emotional mindset. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. All right, I'm going to go into my day. It's Sunday. It's 10:50 a.m. here. Whatever time it is where you are. If it's late afternoon or evening or pushing midnight or 2 in the morning or 1 in the afternoon, whatever it might be. Have a good day. Have fun. We're going to be back tomorrow with 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. West Coast Time with the Intrepid Radio program. And I'll also be back with Rocky Stucci on the Sit Room. I'm not even sure what time. I think we're 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. West Coast. I think that's when we're going live with that. So, all right, guys. Good to see you here. Thanks for your time. Thanks for chatting. Thanks for your support. Love you all. See you tomorrow.